So this episode comes to us on the back of a pretty epic and fun podcast episode that was on the Macabolic podcast that was done on Callout culture. And it was real cool episode between Mackenzie and Tyson. They're both with us now. Welcome, gents.
Welcome, Alex and Tyson.
Tyson's sitting down for this now.
Good. Now sat down. We're all chilled.
So we got at Mackenzie Baker, at Tyson the trainer from the previous episode, touched on some really, really good points, looked at Callout culture on the whole. Mac's a member of the extended assessment team and works on the initiative, the Nutrition for Fitness Professionals initiative, and does a lot of stuff in the non-food tracking nutritional strategies within the association. What I want to do is get on, sort of discuss what our values and standards are within, I guess, Callout culture. First of all, to kick it off, the values and standards that we have, and sort of like what we were talking about in the meeting, was like, we don't want to stop Callout culture. We just want to really sort of qualify it. So to have certain things happen before it happens. We have a value of impact and legacy. So we want to impact the industry really, really positively. We want to leave a legacy that's beyond, if I were to stop work tomorrow, that it could continue and and the mission continues. And the mission being the sustainable prosperity of the profession, so that like sports nutritionists can continue to have a really good space and carve out a good niche for themselves, and they continue to do well within that career and enjoy it, right? One of the standards that we have with that is lift others up. And so we want to make sure before we start calling people out on our end that we've given them every opportunity to lift them up and build them up, and then going on the attack. And so it's like, so I guess the easiest thing from our end in that situation is, can we, if we ask ourselves, can we answer this as a yes? Have I tried to lift them up to the best of my ability? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, we're probably not going to call them out. But we're probably not going to be upset if other people do, or if there's spark debate from that point as well.
When you put it to me like that, it's like, it's quite easy for me to actually go about that. And I guess it isn't just going straight on the attack. It's like, actually, what is, seeing where they're coming from, and also, like I said, lifting people up first. Because at the end of the day, I'm here to lift up clients. I'm here to help people online. And it's like, I need to also do that to people who are also in the same, industry and doing the same thing.
If we can help that person and lift them up, and then what the information that they're promoting then changes as a result, then we're not just helping that one person, we're helping that person's whole influence and network then. And so we're not looking at things from like an addition side of things, right? I've added that one person to the list of people that I've helped. We're multiplying it in terms of that force. And I think, credit to you both. You're both in a position now with your careers where people actually look up to you and are like, shit, I want to do what Mackenzie does. I want to do what Tyson does.
I feel like my thought process now behind it all is context. And Tyson raised some really fantastic points in our podcast episode the other month. And that it's sort of like, okay, even in Tyson's example and in numerous examples that I've observed myself, if you approach people in a positive, constructive way, trying to genuinely say, hey, have you thought about this? But maybe offering an affirmation before you sort of like, hey, I can see that you really care about nutrition. You're trying to help lots of people, but have you thought about this? Or are you aware of this study? Or have you read this? Or whatever it is, I think there is a chance that possibly like positive things can really come out from that. Misinformation, misleading information and advice that's going to send someone down a dark path is not an okay thing. It really isn't. So, I like the idea of being professional, keeping to yourself, what I would call more the Luke Tulloch approach. But in the same idea, I think if you've attempted to do, I guess, the right thing in little quotations, because we're all really passionate about nutrition, our emotions do get the better of us as well. I think it's time to sort of say, hey, I tried. This is misinformation, and here's why. You don't necessarily need to personally attack the individual, call them an idiot and all that jazz. I mean, you can if you want, but
like when you do, like, I think there's also a distinction between, like, we're talking about the information that they're providing that is incorrect versus that person, like I'll never, like, people like, oh, you're a bully for doing this, but it's like, hang on, we're not attacking someone's race or gender or any of those things. We're talking about the misinformation that's spreading. So I think it also, people can take that personally with what you're saying, but it's like, we're not attacking you and who you are as a person. We're attacking the information that you are sharing that's inaccurate. So I think there also needs to be a distinction between that.
Yeah, in that instance, Tyson. Yeah, I think, if you've given them a fair chance, then call them out constructively.
Yeah.
That's the Tyson way.
Yeah. I just follow them up positively. Hey, it'd be really great to chat. Like obviously we share an interest in this, something like that.
As I said, I've gone down the full-on aggressive route and nothing positive comes from it. I always afterwards feel like a dick. I feel a sense of regret. I feel like I haven't helped anyone. And I actually feel very self-conscious about how people perceive me. I think we should always give people the benefit of the doubt. I think that's a bit of a guideline, or even if we want to call it a rule.
Even still at that point, you don't want to burn bridges to the point where it's like, oh, fuck, now this person's never going to listen to anything that I say. And now they're going to ignore that information, which is, strongly accurate at this point in time. I would say we've got pretty good standards, but we still have people that come through and they'll come out and promote a supplement in a certain way. I see a fair bit of the stuff, and like the low hanging fruit to me that I need to actually have a chat with some people about is like, hey, on this sports nutrition page on your Instagram, please don't talk about vaccinations in kids.
Well, I mean, like, I think the biggest thing that I see a lot of with, unfortunately, is just, in the bodybuilding female fitness diet culture is the amount of dieting that's going on. And like, always searching for the lowest calorie things, always looking for the highest volume. And they're not teaching people like just what good habits are.
So things that trigger me is exactly what Tyson said, just this overemphasis on maximizing food volume. It's not just about like volume in the gut. And look, this isn't to say that all of that stuff is a load of complete shit. Like a lot of things in nutrition, there's always a pinch of truth, but rather, it's the interpretation. Like carnitine's a classic example, can increase the oxidation of fats, fatty acid oxidation. But that doesn't mean fat loss. It's a classic sort of simple thing like that.
Like as soon as they sign up with someone, okay, you're tracking your macros. You have to be within, even though they've done your cert, you have to be within 5 grams of your fucking macros, or you have to track your black coffee, or track all these things that like, it's causing neuroticism for people. I just feel like it does a lot more harm than it does good for people.
Yeah. Tyson, back that 100%. These people are seriously going through some tough times because they don't know how to eat without tracking in MyFitnessPal. And honestly, it almost brings a tear to my eye sometimes seeing this shit. It is just, it's not okay.
I guess on what these people are posting, right? Typically we all post what we know and what we're doing. So like that will always come first to an extent. And the market, the audience, they need to exercise their own discretion. The same way, right? We get people who are like, oh, I've studied with Vast. I've studied with Nutrition Pro. I want to register with you. I'm a sports nutritionist. Will you recognize me? And I'm like, we have like 12 like legitimate subjects that get compliance audits that you maybe have done 3 of. That doesn't then equal competence in sports nutrition practice. But we don't go, oh, that's 100% wrong. Screw them. Because from our end, it's like, hey, look, the market we're going to try and make them informed, but the market are also responsible for their own decisions. There's also a line. And if all they're doing is saying that, and it's completely disordered, or like we had when that, SIBO expert and gut health expert was doing the program to do it, and then she was disagreeing with digestive physiology from a textbook. It's like, hey, that's the line. You just crossed it. You can't continue with this.
It just comes back down to the qualification definition. Like it's a certificate provisional thing. And I think people need to recognize that. If you want to go to that level, go and do the full feature. Go and get open.
I think also with that, Alex, like you were saying, like, again, like, getting to that open accredited thing, it's like, if this is going to be serious, do what you actually like, do the proper stuff, don't take these hobby courses or anything like that. Like if
I get feedback from people all the time where it's like, really, I'm just working with Gen Pop. And it's like, you mean Gen Pop, like the mum of 3 kids that sleeps 4 hours a night, that can only eat what the kids are eating,
qualified enough and have the knowledge so you can look after these people, because they're going to be your bread and butter at the end of the day too.
Why the hell do you want to be settling for a minimum standard in a certificate? It blows my mind. The marketing, how tricky and for lack of a better term, misleading the verbiage and terminology is on their sites, in their documentation. It's like crazy. Like for the majority of people, they would look at this, man, and they would be like, yeah, I'm covered. For the people who learn from my mistakes, and for the people who are listening, who are looking at this stuff, it's like, look at the subjects and look at the transcript. These are the conversations that I want to have more about, to start stimulating people's thought processes within our member base and our audience as well, because it's definitely something that's not touched on enough.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks, bro.